Good afternoon. Another episode of Your HBCU and You. Today's guest is Mr. Kenneth Sims. I'd like for Mr. Sims to introduce himself. Mr. Sims, the floor is yours.
I'm Kenneth Sims, a proud graduate of the Southern University A&M College, class of 1998 and 2002, master's degree in education. Currently work at Baton Rouge Community College, and also am the proud owner of Pinnacle Consultants Group, in which we do various different consulting firms working with health organizations, schools, just different organizations that assist with helping people to get better at professional development.
Very good, Kenneth. Very good. First question off the top is going to be, why Southern University?
Why not? Southern University saved my life. I have no doubt in my mind that I wouldn't be here without the fine folks on the bluff, or on the yard as we call it. I had a scholarship to other schools, and I wanted to play football and basketball, things of that nature, but I made a mistake and I went to, well, it was the best mistake of my life. I went to a Southern University Jackson State game, 1991, and I ran into a cornucopia of beautiful African-American people, and I didn't know what to do. I grew up 2.5 hours away from Southern, small town called Houma, Louisiana, and I was just amazed. And to see that, I just wanted to be a part of it immediately. And when I got back to college, I got back to high school, I told my counselor at the time, I can't take these scholarships. I put Sam Houston or, someplace, not to put any other university down, but I hadn't been exposed to that type of environment. And when I got a chance to really figure out what Southern was all about, I just couldn't turn away from it.
So what was your favorite part about attending Southern University? What's your favorite part about that?
The people, the relationships, the feeling, the sense of belonging to a family, a Jaguar pride. That's something to being a Jaguar. That's different than any other HBCU. And I know a lot of people will say, well, this, that, but we understood what our purpose was, and we had people to hold us accountable for our actions. And, being from Houma, Louisiana, not knowing too much about myself as being an African-American male, an intellectual, a person that wanted to get a world view, Southern University offered me that very early on, and I couldn't turn away from it.
So what was your favorite thing to do on campus?
That's, when you go to Southern, and I know a lot of people will think, what they will. There's so many different things to do. So it's hard to nail down one thing. We would hang, the Union was probably the last place on campus that we would hang. We would hang in front of T.T. Lane and, just people watch, be a part of the college experience. And they had business going on inside, because again, this is Southern. So you're gonna have a high academic rigor. But as also we had great social groups, powerful people that we walked shoulder to shoulder with, understanding who we were. And, I'm 19 years old, 18, 19, 20. You're learning so much so fast. But I could say one of my favorite things to do was to go to the bluff. When I first got to Southern University, I didn't know whether I was coming or going. And I would go down to the water's edge, and just sit and think, like, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna get in school? What I'm gonna do this semester? How am I gonna be successful? And I think that was one of the things that really got me. And if I go there to this day, I always think of those early stages of my life, of my college career, of not being a sports athlete as I thought I would be, but also understanding where I was in the world, understanding where my place was beginning to be, and how I was beginning to line up as an educator.
Okay.
So I would say love.
Okay. What was your favorite building on campus?
TTLA.
Okay.
I mean, it was just, it was the place to be, because it had my it had my worst subject was mathematics, but it was my favorite place to be. So I started to learn mathematics in order to be accepted in that arena, because you had Greek organizations, you had other organizations on campus, people would come and do things. So definitely TTLA.
So what was your favorite professor? Who was your favorite professor?
That's a tough one, because I had many of them. So many people took an interest in my life and paved the way for me to be here. Just giving me good advice. Dr. Trahan, I can tell you he was very instrumental in making sure I did my work and got to school. So I would have to say Dr. Trahan.
So what did Dr. Trahan impress upon you the most?
How to conduct myself, how to articulate myself, why education was important, why I just wasn't there for the entertainment, but what was I gonna leave back to my profession? What was I gonna leave back to my community? Just how to be a Southern University graduate, and what are you gonna leave behind? And what do you stand for as a man? Not just an African-American man, but just as a man, as a person, as a human being. He gave me great insight on how I should conduct myself, how should I go to class, and really the nuts and bolts of being an educator.
In your years of attendance at Southern, was there any major event that you and your friends still talk about today that happened while you were on campus?
We had many artists would come there for Spring Fest, Run DMC, Two Live Crew. But I think the biggest, most impactful moment was when I met Nelson Mandela, and meeting that gentleman, me standing at 6'4", him standing at 5'10", I felt like I was in his shadow. I knew that I had came across one of God's chosen few to make a difference in the world. And he came to our graduation, and he spoke, and he took a little time. I was with the Student Government Association at that time, and we had a little time to answer questions, and I was so nervous, just so impressed by his charisma, who he was. And he didn't speak very loud, but when he spoke, everybody listened. And the next day, they renamed the hall that he stood in. They renamed the Nelson Mandela Hall at Southern University. And so that was a very impactful, that was probably the seminal moment of me being at Southern University, the Southern.
So what was your least favorite thing about attending Southern?
Wow. Registration. But even in that, I still found things that helped my life, that gave me purpose, that gave me a sense of who I was becoming. Because I'm gonna tell you a really quick story. In I would say 92, my second semester at Southern University. Anybody could tell you, it was called the F.G. Clark mini dome, but we would call it the terror dome during registration because it was pure terror. You didn't know if you was gonna make it in school. You didn't know if you was gonna be there. You didn't know how you was gonna feel. And I remember they pulling me to the side and said, "Hey man, you didn't turn in your financial aid in time. We're gonna have to put you out, and there's no one you can talk to except the chancellor. Maybe that probably be your last, appeal." So I remember going back, and I'm like, "Man, I can't go back to home. There's no way. Everybody's gonna call me a failure. I dropped out, or I flunked out, or whatever." And I remember getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and everybody that went to Southern University knew we had our chancellor at the time. Her name was Dr. Dolores Spikes, and she was our chancellor. And I knew if she got in the building, there was no way I was going to be able to get a chance to talk to her and tell her what was going on. So I would say about 3:30 in the morning, I set my alarm clock, and it would say the chancellor's parking spot. And so I got up, I got dressed, and I just went and sat about 3:45 because I knew she would get there really early. So I wanted to beat her there. And I just remember I just sat in her spot where her car would park, and I would have been parked. And I sat in that spot, and I fell asleep. And I heard a horn, and it was her. And it was about 6:15. And she said, "Boy, what you doing? What are you doing out here? Why are you in my spot?" And I said, "Ma'am," I woke up and I got up and said, "Ma'am, my name's Kenneth Sims, and I'm a freshman, and they tell me I'm not going to be able to get in school. Can you please help me?" And she's like, "Son, well, how long you been out here?" And I said, "Since about 4 o'clock, maybe, 3:45, 4 o'clock." And she said, "Well, son, if you either crazy or driven, and I think I'm gonna give you a chance, and come to my office." And that's the thing that you have to have at Southern, and that's the thing that you have to have in life, that drive. That many students would have just said, "Okay," but Southern will teach you no is just another way to go around to find the right yes. And if I had to stand out in the rain, it didn't matter what it was. It was 3:45 in the a.m. But I knew I had to get back in school. There was no getting around it. And so I just sat in her spot and just waited. And she was going to either drive over me or tell me, do something. So that's how that happened.
Which did you enjoy the most, your freshman year or sophomore year?
My sophomore year, simply because now I knew that I could make it. I was, as my mother would say, I was college material, because I came into Southern University with an ACT score of 15. I'm a first generation educated person. Anybody that knows me knows that my family is very important to me, but we didn't understand the necessity of education at that time. And to be what you would call college material, that meant something to us, that you was one of a very few. Southern University was the only place, honestly, other than the scholarships, that I thought I could have had, and it was only because of my athletic prowess. It was never because of my academia. That was the only place that would have taken me. And I'm glad that they did, because it gave me a different viewpoint of who I was, and they gave me a chance. Now, you're not gonna go to Southern and stay 4 years. I didn't. It took me 4.5 years, almost 5 years to graduate. But once a graduate, always a graduate. Once a Jaguar, always a Jaguar.
So two more things before I get you out of here, Kenneth.
Okay.
Uh, you talked about Southern University preparing you for life. So let's talk about how Southern University prepared you for your career. So tell me a little bit about that.
That's an excellent question, Mike. That's an excellent question. Um, Southern University made things difficult where sometimes they didn't have to be, but it gave you that extra drive that you needed to be successful. Understanding on the road to success in lies failure. You're gonna fail at things, and it's just how you handle it. They put you in positions where you would sometimes fail, like would tell me like you can't get in school. They probably, we always got into Southern after the late fee. I'm gonna tell you that too. Southern took $50 from me almost every semester I was there. So after the $50 late fee, we would call it I'm back in the house. So they would get that. They was gonna get that. Now Southern, I gotta tell you that's the truth. And anybody that's a true Jaguar, they know Southern gonna get that $50 out of you. But it was money well spent. But to answer your question, it really gave you an opportunity to figure things out, to become more of an independent thinker. Now that can come back to haunt you sometimes because people don't recognize you as being especially minorities. We are not the arbiters of our own story. We can't tell how we feel. It's like in this environment, you're not supposed to have any feelings. You're just to do a job. But I'm a part of the job. Southern University gave you a voice. It gave you independent. It made you become an independent thinker. And so you found that you got along better with people when you thought for yourself. And so problem solving, and it prepared for dress. So, that's it. We was going to do that on the yard. So you just can come up there busted. And, we went to class sharp. And so when we went to work, it was no different because I can't remember us, every now and again, we'd probably wear a Southern sweater, but most of the time, man, it was suit and tie, sometimes shirt, things like that. And so it prepared you for the on the ground training that you would have needed in order to be successful at whatever you were doing.
Great, awesome. Now, very short infomercial from you. Speaking with a potential Southern student, what would you tell that student?
I would ask that student one question. Do you want to better your life? Do you want to better your life to where you can better your family's life? To where you can change the trajectory of not just yourself, but others in your family, people that you married to, people that you engage, the relationships you're going to form. Do you want to change that? Do you want to be better? Do you want to be the best version of yourself? And if you want to do that and you want to be challenged and you want to learn and you want to be engaged and you want to be a part of your community, a part of the world, because we have graduates worldwide. Like I said, I know I would have never been able to meet the likes of Nelson Mandela or travel to places that I've gone. Being a part of the things that I've been a part of, I never would have been able to do that without going to Southern University. And if you want to propel yourself, challenge yourself, and give yourself the best life that you can have at this time in your life as a 17, 18-year-old, 19-year-old person that's trying to better their lives and don't like the environment in which they're in and want to have a voice, go to Southern University. Be a Jaguar. Be a part of a family. Be a part of a college that will embrace you for who you are, that will embrace you for your differences, that will not just look at your skin color and say you're too dark or you're too light or your hair is this or good. It doesn't matter. Do you have what it takes? And an understanding to embrace your side, to embrace who you are, and to love who you are in your own skin. You don't have to try to be anybody else or anything else. Just be the best you, the you that God made you or God intended you to be. And Southern University would definitely fall in line with assisting you with that.
Excellent, Brother Sims, excellent. Is there anything else you want to add before we end this episode of You, Your HBCU, and You?
I would just like to say to, the public that getting an HBCU education is very important for so many people who don't have, so many people who have been downtrodden and don't understand what education is. Continue to support. I've made pledges to support Southern University, and I've been doing this now for years, supporting, giving back to my institution because they need critical funds. We were very underfunded when I was attending Southern University, and I'm seeing that still be the case now. We have one of the most beautiful campuses in the world. However, it could be a lot better. And I think for many HBCUs, doesn't matter if it's Howard, Jackson State, Alcorn, we need to really at this time in life, during this pandemic, during this very 2020, which is a different, unique year, we need to start to give back to those who need it. And HBCUs can do that. They can, I'm beginning to see those schools, those universities in a different light. It's very easy when you got money and endowments and things of that nature. But when you're just trying to make it through drives and having people to tap into the community to give back to the needy students, continue to give to HBCUs, continue to support HBCUs, because you can't put a price tag on the things that they have done for this country and for the world.
Thank you, Brother Sims. Thanks for joining us on this episode of You, Your HBCU, and You. Thanks.
Go Jazz.